Welcome to the Yoga Society podcast, where yoga is for everyone. I'm Martha Cottrell, and in each episode, we explore yoga, mindfulness, and movement for wherever you are in your journey. So let's get started. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the studio and why you opened? I know we just chatted.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's such a good story.
So, Karma Yoga, I taught for 10 years before I opened Karma Yoga. I was kind of missing the analytical part of, what taps into me. So creatively, I teach flow, and that really hit the mark with the creative side, but I think I wanted to do something a little more business driven. So I taught in Los Gatos, so 60 miles south of San Francisco. My husband and I decided to open up in San Francisco where I knew no one. I think the edge I had was knowing what was missing in the market. So at the time I opened about 8 years ago, yoga was hippy dippy and kind of granola, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there was no showers and there was no amenities like white towels. And I knew that when I practiced, it's something I valued. So I think opening up the studio with those amenities, and then also with a baseline of organization. So what we offer is, categorize, and every teacher teaches kind of in that realm as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how yoga has evolved in such a short period of time. Like, it's become so mainstream, and it sounds like you kind of got in there right at the right time before the surge and before 2020.
Yeah. I do think it has a lot to do with luck and then really understanding the industry. So I not only taught for 10 years, I practiced heavily, and I practiced at different studios and I taught at different studios. So I really identified like what I wanted as a student perspective, what I liked. And so everything that I like, I implemented at Karma Yoga. And I think too, I have my friends outside of yoga and then I have my friends inside of yoga, and getting those two opinions was really helpful to create Karma.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And it totally shows. Like, the studio is beautiful. Everything is very clearly been thought through so carefully and curated. And you can feel that when you're in the studio.
Oh, thank you.
And I love that. I think a lot of us who are in the yoga world have the kind of those two sets of friends as well. Like, the people who are your people in yoga, we're all on the same wavelength in general and just really passionate about it. And then our other friends who don't always understand our obsession with yoga, but they're there for us in so many other ways.
Totally. And they bring a whole different perspective. So I think it's they may have taken like 2 to 5 yoga classes, which brings a whole different dimension, which goes into the fact of the yoga industry lacking that education of classes. So like when you list a vinyasa class, what is that to the consumer? And at the end of the day, we are a business. So I think we can get better in the yoga industry by really subscribing to what we're selling. So if it's vinyasa, then Julie, Carrie, every single teacher needs to teach in that vinyasa framework, right? And it's going to be different the way you teach and I teach, but it still dances within that framework, which is so important to me here. I don't need copy paste teachers, but I need them to teach the class that
and also
we are selling
what
to
is
our
community.
class
Versus exactly. I totally agree with you, and that's one of the things I'm working all those to do. Where people who are coming into the studio may not have been practicing for as long. These might be new things to them, and they might not know what to expect.
Yep.
But I think expectation setting basically is so huge. Like, knowing what to expect in a vinyasa class is important, because there's, it sucks when you walk in expecting one thing and you're totally thrown off guard by what if it ends up being totally different.
Yeah, and I think you said it earlier, like yoga has grown so much. So not only is it your time, but it's your money that you're putting forth. And then it's just confusing that consumer of like, oh, I took a vinyasa class and it wasn't flowy. We just sat there in meditation. And it's like, so I think it's like we owe it to our consumers or our clients or our community to like abide within the framework of yoga.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, why don't you tell me, well, I want to get to the classes. I want to talk about the different classes that you offer at Karma because they're pretty awesome and unique, but we can circle back to that because I wanted to go start at the beginning and start with your yoga journey and tell me about like the first time you did yoga, how you got into it, and how your journey's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I grew up playing soccer and that was kind of like my life. I thought I'd play that all the way until I couldn't walk. And I was going to school and working at a bar. And one of the bartenders was like, yeah, I just took this yoga class. It's called Bikram yoga. And she's like, you should try it. I'm like, I'm an athlete. I don't do yoga. Like, it's not my jam. And my girlfriend was like, no, we should try. We should get up tomorrow morning and go. And so we got up the next morning at 6 a.m. and took a Bikram class. And after that class, we paid for a year membership. Like we were in love. And so my journey started with Bikram. And then I started to get a little more confident in the practice and the breath and the discipline. And then moved into flow within a year and then never looked back. Wow. So flow yoga. And I just loved it. I tapered away from soccer as I fell more and more in love with yoga. I loved the discipline aspect, the movement, the sweating, the like learning about yourself. And it was really humbling in the sense of coming from an athletic body style into being more lean and mobile or mobile. And I still, after 20 years of practicing, I still am in love with the practice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I know it's kind of like an if you know, you know. Like if you've experienced it yourself, you know. I'm the same way. I've been practicing for 20 years as well, and I'm still obsessed.
Yep. And it's different. Like I feel like it serves you different every year or every season because it's not like this 365 days and then it changes, but you come to the mat for different reasons, whether it's movement or stress or meditation. And it continues to surprise me and give back. It's such a gift that we discovered it.
Yes, I know. I feel so lucky to have discovered it like early. And like you said, I've always found myself coming back to it for different reasons in different phases of life, whatever I'm going through. It's always been a rock and a support. And even while I'm traveling, it's always a home. Like I'm able to find a community of people. And I love it.
Which is amazing because you can literally practice it anywhere.
Yeah. There's very few things that are like that where you can walk into a place anywhere around the world and feel a sense of community and a sense of groundedness and home.
Yep.
Yeah, and the people that you meet are amazing.
I agree. It's a like-minded personality. Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible that you started with Bikram yoga. Like that is not an easy one to start with. No. That is, in my opinion, that is one of the most intense forms, if not the most intense form of yoga.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it was the classic 90 minutes.
Yes. And it was Bikram style. So it was very like, don't drink water, don't wipe your face. But I think just coming from the soccer background, you had to be disciplined to the level I played at. So it really, going into it, I didn't know. But it really, really eased me out of the soccer because I knew letting go of soccer would be a heartbreak, but it wasn't as much because I found a new love. So, and I still go back to the Bikram practice. I still love it because if I need to get stronger in my legs or more patient, like it's something I lean into a lot.
Yeah, I think it is one of those foundational practices where like you always come back when you need it. It's there. It's consistent.
Totally.
Yeah. I also started. I didn't start with Bikram, but it was the first hot class that I did. And same thing. I found like a consistent practice of it makes you feel so good.
Yep.
Over time, I've been more drawn to the flowy vinyasa style classes, power. But recently, I had an injury, like a ski injury in my knee, not that serious, but
Yeah.
in that, like, it made flowing and like the quick transitions difficult.
Yep.
So I found myself going back to Bikram, and it was very healing for me, being able to take it at my own pace and modify, and so that I could get back into flowing.
But that's so true. And that just shows your, education and knowledge in the yoga world, that you, minor or major injury, that you were able to go back to Bikram, because it is like, it builds strength. Where flow is amazing and it still builds strength, but you're constantly moving. It makes you sit in those poses for 30 seconds to a minute. So that's amazing. Yeah. I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's so good. This is just like what we're talking about, how there's so many different styles of yoga, and they're all there for you, and depending on what you need. And I think that's one thing, I'm sure you're always saying this to people too, when someone says, oh, I tried yoga and it's not for me. And you just want to say, but there's so much. Yeah. There's so much to it.
Yep. Yep. I wish I could ask people, like, what is it that you want? And then also too, like, it depends on the teachers and the class style. So I think that's huge for people when they try out for the first time.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so karma yoga.
Yes.
What would you say? What's the vibe? What do you want people to leave feeling? Or if someone's looking for a certain style of yoga, what would you say you offer at karma yoga?
So yeah, I think that the vibe, the feeling that I wanted to create here is inviting. I know that even with 5-10 years of experience, sometimes it was really intimidating, specifically in the city, to go to a yoga studio that I didn't know. And that's someone with experience that practices quite a bit. And they didn't emphasize, and this isn't a cut to anyone, on the welcoming part of it. So I think that was the first and foremost, that we had to have a front desk. We could not have teachers check in to the studio, which, for finances and to build a business, that's the way some people have to do it, but it was a non-negotiable for me. So the teachers could be released from that interaction, and then someone could be met with a friendly face. And then as far as the vibe, fun, welcoming in the check-in. And then the vibe, we have a downstairs, but downstairs is dark and disconnected. So we have all our teachers, every single class, do opening verbiage, which asks everyone to stay the entire time, and then to disconnect and not bring cell phones and any smartwatches, be on do not disturb. And that was something too that I started when I first taught, was just making ground rules at every studio, because every studio was different. And I was like, I'm kind of my own independent contractor, and I want to create these rules. And there was a lot of feedback in a positive way that I got, that people were like, no other teacher does this. So I found that people wanted that disconnect. But in the yoga industry, it's hard as a teacher, because you're trying to get students, you're trying to create rapport in a community. And sometimes if you put too many rules, people typically are drawn away from that. But I feel like just knowing and being confident in what you have to offer, that the people that are there for you will stay for you, and the people that maybe don't want that have plenty of other opportunities in a different space or class.
Totally. I think it's so powerful, like in a world where we're so connected and so distracted and so busy. The yoga room and space and practice is sometimes the only time, and the only 60 minutes or however long the class is, that most of us have where we're not looking at a screen. We're not attached. We're totally disconnected.
Totally. And I think until some people realize that, right? Yogis might come to that conclusion, but some people don't realize until they're shown it. And it might take 1, 2, or 3 times, but our clientele now expects it. And we'll even call out, being like, so-and-so had a phone in the room. So it's a community that we've built that I'm really proud of. And as long as we're, compassionate about the delivery and not making anyone feel bad, it's been really well accepted here, especially in the city, being, a city and people being busy. And yeah, but I totally agree with you.
I can see that, how people are resistant to it initially. Like, what do you mean I can't have my phone on me? And like, we're so attached.
Totally.
But then you come to, once you experience that feeling of being disconnected, you come to want that.
Yeah.
And then the opposite is true. You resist any type of, distraction in the room.
Totally. And it's just, I think it's another layer of the discipline, because really, what is the reason you're looking at your phone or X, Y, or leaving the room? It's probably because of something that's coming up on the mat. And so directly telling them, stay present, because you're just going to get stronger. You're just going to build another muscle to move and breathe on the mat and off the mat.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. It's that practice. We always say what you practice on your mat, you can bring off the mat as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so the ground rules that you mentioned when you were teaching and now at the studio, besides not having your phone in the studio, what were some of the other rules that you have?
So I think, and you touched on it too, it might be the first time someone gets to flow in 30 days. They might just have a brand new newborn at home, or they might be stressed or taking care of a loved one. So if they only have that 60 minutes, we need to protect that end space. And I think what the fitness or movement industry has done in the last 5 to 10 years is really dismiss that cool down period. Like, you're done with your workout, let's get out. Yes, we have heated rooms. Yes, we play music. Yes, it's upbeat, it's a power flow, but there's still that, protection of Shavasana. And that means the world to me. And I think knowing that that space is sacred for people, it might be their only 4 minutes of stillness for 30 days. And so that is a rule in our opening verbiage that we say, please stay the entirety of Shavasana. And again, now it's kind of just accepted here. It's like, if someone does leave once every 2 months, we know maybe it's not their type of practice, or they had to leave for emergency, but we don't have in and outs at the studio, which really creates that like peaceful movement practice.
Right. And less distracting for everybody else in the class.
Absolutely. And I think the difference too is like the teachers feel empowered because the studio backs them up. So if someone walked out, the front desk is being like, is everything okay? We do ask you to stay for Shavasana. Oh, I had to run, da da da. Yeah. And most people either curb that behavior or they don't return. And that's not a good thing, but also hopefully they find a practice that suits them.
Right. Like, you can't be everything to anyone.
Yeah.
And your people will appreciate you for sticking with it.
Yeah. And it's our number one, positive feedback we get from our members and our clients is that protected space, the cell phones, the distraction, and then the Shavasana.
Totally. So. And I think, just as you were talking about staying for Shavasana and that dedicated time at the end, I think it's, at least I've encountered a similar experience to as being disconnected with the phone, where initially, sometimes for some of us, especially the busy people, the type A's, it can be hard.
Totally.
But then you have those moments, like those magic yoga moments where you have like a really incredible Shavasana and you get into that meditative state, and then you start to crave it and you want it. And, if a teacher or a studio doesn't leave space for Shavasana, you miss it. Like, you need it. It is truly the most important part of the practice.
Yeah, it kind of concludes the entire practice. And then, sometimes we don't know what we need until we're like in that moment. Yeah.
Okay. Last couple questions I had for you. Can you tell me a little bit about, it sounds like you started off your yoga practice for the physical, coming from being a competitive athlete, going to Bikram, which is a very physical, intense practice. And it sounds like you've gotten more into the mindfulness aspect as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that part of your journey? Maybe how it's showed up in other parts of your life too?
Yeah, I think, again, you touched base on the type A. I'm very type A. Like, I like things organized. I like to always be busy and moving. And I do think, coming from a soccer background, you have to, if you're not playing on the field, you're conditioning, you're training skills. So there's always something physically that you're doing. I have taken a lot of teacher training. So the studio I was at was like an educational studio. So I was very, very lucky in 12 years to get 500 hours, but then past that, so every weekend I was doing a different training, and the owner of the studio would just pitch all the teachers to me. So even if it wasn't something that I was like really interested in, I was able to study under Sean Korn, Catherine Budick, Maddie Etzrati, like these big names that I would never have sought out. Mm-hmm. So I think that tapped into, wow, this is so much more than transitioning from soccer to a movement practice and about a deeper meaning. Like, I think I remember the first time I took a flow class with her, my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, you're just obsessed with this yoga." I'm like, "Mom, like you work out and then you get massaged at the end and you lie down." I was like, "It's the best thing ever. I've never had that with soccer." But I think that was like the funny like conclusion that I had in my head that was so much deeper than that. It wasn't about the massage. It wasn't about the workout before. It was about the entire feeling that I felt, and I couldn't put it into words, 20 years ago, but now it is more mindfulness. It's knowing that everything you do, every reaction you have has a counter reaction. And so it's like those moments of stillness, of pausing, maybe not saying anything or not reacting is what I think is the bigger picture. And then the journey never ends. Like the journey never ends. Just like the movement, what you come back for the movement part, the meditation and the mindful part is always top of mind.
Totally. Yeah, it is that like what a lot of us don't come to the mat for, but we end up getting is just this sense of like connectedness to ourselves and this moment to pause in life that you don't always get or think about, even just like space. I think yoga creates this container of space for us to like reflect on our lives in general.
Totally. That's so beautiful. Container space. I love that. I think that's so true. And whatever comes into that space, yoga kind of gives you those tools to not solve, but like move through
what you need. Yeah. It just comes up. It's totally true.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about the name Karma Yoga. How did you land on the name?
So when I started my first business, which was called Mint Styles, and it was closet organizing and then shopping for people. The owner of Yoga Source is where I used to practice at. Her husband was in marketing, so he had me do an exercise of how to create a brand name. And so I wrote all the notes down for that, and I did that for Karma Yoga. There was a lot of like breath yoga studio or pranayama or prana. And so all these names came up, and you kind of just go through this organized like brainstorming session. And I don't know, and I remember my husband being there. I don't know where, as soon as karma came into the picture, it was endgame. Like it came into the picture at the end too, but it was right away. I was like, no. And my husband was kind of like bouncing around. Well, what about this? I was like, nope, it's karma. It's got to be karma. Like there was no question once that kind of came through the brainstorm. I also think too, my mom's always used the word karma, like growing up, don't do that. Karma's going to get you. So it kind of is a personal thing, but I know it has so many meanings, not only the karma practice, what we westernize, what karma is, but I think it just was a easy name, something that I stood by all my life, kind of like how you treat people is how you're going to be treated back. So it made sense, right when the word came in, it made sense.
I love it. And I love that the fact that you have a good karma class every week by donation, it just shows that you truly do practice what you preach. Yeah, it holds true to the name.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that was my first class that I did, and I loved it. With you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, in general, I hope that's how we operate here. Like, in general, always thinking like it's not a trade off. It's, how do I look at it? Yeah, what you put out, you get back in. So,
Yeah, very like reciprocity.
yep.
Reciprocal.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. If you could tell anybody like one thing, one piece of advice for starting yoga, or if they're already practicing yoga, just what would it be?
Um, for starting yoga, do it. Put your fears aside just for a moment. Give yourself grace when you go to that class. And then those who are practicing yoga, I think my biggest thing, just because I work with teachers so much, is like never stop being a student, because I really feel like that's where the yoga stops. Is I mean, before COVID I tried to do 200 hours every 2 years, and I wouldn't tell anyone I was certified. I would just go in, and then people would be like, wait, you have already 200 hours? And I'm like, yeah, but I just love to learn, and I would learn so much in those 200 hours. So that's not what I'm suggesting to do, but I'm saying in general is always being a student. We're a week away from launching our YTT, so it starts next week. And the one thing I remember just like writing down is, for the lead teachers who are supporting in it, is now that you're leading, like you're not coming in to critique. You're still in a place of learning. You're there to guide them. Mm-hmm. It's not like right or wrong. So yeah, that was kind of a lot, but
no, I love that, and also so many great points. Like, I think as a teacher, you're always learning everything you do, every class that you teach. Even you learn maybe different ways that you want to teach. You learn from your students, and yeah, it's very important to keep taking those. Also, taking the trainings, like more formal learning. I think that's amazing. Did you do the 200-hour trainings like somewhere different every year?
Yeah, so I took my first 200 hours with Linda at Yogasaurus, and then from there I would audit hers. I'd just be like, can I go? Yeah. So that is where I started to like gather, like, wow, I missed this, the first 200 hours, because you're almost like doe-eyed when you go in that first. Yeah. So you only pick up what I think you're most comfortable with. So the second time I observed it, I mean, leaps and bounds. And then I went and took a completely different 200-hour. Then I went under yoga medicine, which was more anatomy. And I said in my first like 2 years, I was like, I'm not an anatomy based teacher. That's not my jam. And now that is what I love. So I think too, learning that don't put yourself in a box, because you will ebb and flow and grow and lean towards different things at different stages and ages of your life.
Yeah, totally. I find myself even still reviewing. Most recently, I took out my notes from my teacher training, which was like almost 10 years ago now. And I was reading the notes that I had written down. And like you said, like I had totally forgotten about this part. And I love learning about yoga. There's just so much to learn always.
Yeah, you just gave me chills with that, because it is so, you're a different person at that time, yeah. But it's so, there's just something about it, reading those notes, that brings you right back to that moment, which is so beautiful.
Totally. Yeah. I've also been on a major reflection journey recently in my personal life, and it was funny that you say that, because it's funny looking back on my notes and thinking about how I was totally different at the time, not just in my yoga world and practice, but in my personal life, and like how much I've grown since then. So, and yoga's always been there for me.
Yeah,
journey.
It's crazy, and it goes full circle moment from what we started with. Is like it could be just a physical practice at sometimes, and other times it's really getting you through some sticky stuff or whatever it may be, which is why I just believe everyone needs yoga teacher training.
Yes.
Because you just learn so much about yourself. Like, even if you never decide to teach, it's just such another deeper, beautiful process.
Yeah, exactly. To learn about yourself and more about the practice.
Yeah.
And there's often new experiences as well. Maybe you could tell us a bit about the yoga training, teacher training that Karma Yoga offers. Like,
yeah, I mean, I love it. Like, I tell my team and I tell every single training, if I could quit my day job, I would just do yoga teacher trainings. I think it's just so valuable. I love sharing the knowledge, and then I love sharing the light. Like, when that person like figures something out, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I would say specifically, we haven't had any males at Karma Yoga in the teacher training. So it's really women, and seeing women's confidence like kind of spark during that time, because there is, I mean, you've been through the training. Like, there is a point where you're like, what did I get myself into? Like, what did I sign up for? At least for me, I was in Mexico for my first 100 hours and I was looking for flights home because I was not as good as I thought I would be at teaching. And I was like, this is not my jam. And thankfully, I couldn't book a flight home and I had to stay. And it fared well for me. I mean, but there are those moments, and I see it in the trainees where they look like terrified. And then you get through a few more weeks and it's like that light comes. I think that's just such a beautiful human being process to be a part of. On top of that, you learn, like I was just telling Nicole, like I love going back through and like rewriting things and researching and going deeper in certain areas in the training. It's so fun to do. It is my joy. I could do it all day long.
Yeah, me too. I think that also it's interesting because I found that teaching your first couple classes is essentially terrifying, and it's so much harder than you can ever imagine. I think every teacher has had that experience where you take a class, you're very strong in your practice, you're excited for the training, and then you go to teach your first class and you're like, holy cow, this is so hard, and fumbling over your words. I think the very first class I taught in a studio, I decided to do a mandala sequence, which is a total mistake.
So complicated. You're like, yes, I would like to get an A++. So
I love it myself. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna do a vinyasa class. I'm gonna teach a mandala sequence, and between sides, or as we go, like when we're facing forward, when we're facing back, there's gonna be a chair pose. And I remember the class that I taught. Oh my goodness! Like I ended up doing the same side twice, and so we ended up basically the class ended up doing so many chair poses. By the time we got to the second side, like some guy in the front row was like, "No more chair poses for that." So I learned the hard way to like keep it simple when you're first starting out, because that was a really rough like first class. But I felt like I threw myself right into the fire.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact is the chair sounds like too that you were like, you're figuring it out in the moment. You're like, I got to get to the other side. So I have to do, that's just what yoga teaching is too. Is like, oh, I missed this side. How am I going to recycle this in without anyone knowing?
I think from teaching also you gain so many more aspects, and you learn so much more, even more about yourself. Like you get more comfortable being adaptable, thinking on your feet in the moment, getting comfortable public speaking, basically.
There's so many dynamics of teaching a yoga class. Like if someone comes up and says something to you, you're like, I don't remember where I'm going next. Or sometimes people just say things out loud and you're like, okay. It's diffusing situations. You're just like orchestrating this entire like symphony in a classroom.
Yeah, and juggling so many balls, the music, the sequence, making sure you do everything evenly, both sides.
Yep.
And trying to keep a sense of calm and keep kind of a moving meditation going through the class. There's a lot.
That's so true. I feel like what you said too about the first class, I think all yoga teachers, maybe you should do a podcast on that. All yoga teachers who've been teaching should share their first class, because it's so humbling to be like, okay, wait, how'd you get here to here?
Yeah, okay, tell me about your first class then.
Well, I taught two. So I did my Bikram training as well under the same studio owner. So it's an hour and a half. I finished, I think, an hour and 10 minutes. That's how fast I went through the sequence. And then I made them sit in Shavasana for like 15 minutes. And finally Linda got up and she was like we can't sit in this room any longer. Like, get them out. But I think it was time management. Clearly, I was nervous and I was rushing through it. And then my flow class, I think it was the same thing we had to pull out of a hat what our themes were. So it could be anything from a pose to a body part. And I got knees.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of chair poses, and I had the same instance where someone was not yelled out, no more chairs, but it was literally like my knees. And I was like, I mean, the sequence was approved beforehand, but I think it was just that moment was like, you got to really understand your sequence, apply it, and then see it in the bodies. Huge learnings. I actually ended that class on time, but they're big learnings, those first classes, because you imagine it being XYZ because maybe you're a strong practitioner. Totally. But that transition to a teacher is a transition, and giving yourself grace during that time because you're just starting the wheel over.
Totally. And it's really just like anything else. You have to not fail, but you have to learn from your experiences to really get better at your practice and the art of teaching.
Totally. Yeah.
One thing we haven't gotten into is just talking about the different classes that you offer at Karma Yoga.
Yes, I think I skipped over that in that first question. So we offer a variety of different classes, and I think it does come down to the foundation is always yoga. So yoga discipline. So even though we offer HIIT classes, high intensity interval training, there's still that foundation of mindfulness, movement, grounding before and after. So in those HIIT classes, we start in Shavasana and we end in Shavasana. Mm-hmm. And those teachers, even though they may never have taken a yoga class, we do require them to take a yoga class before, but they might be that type A, they might be that movement-based person. They are protecting that space. So we offer power yoga, so a heated vinyasa. And it's anywhere the teachers dance within a certain framework that we provide them, but there could be arm balances, there could not be arm balances, but the overall arching theme is a heated flow class that has intensity. So intensity could mean longer holds or arm balances depending on the teacher. And then we also do look for teachers who like to be creative and who love music. So those two elements are really important when we're looking to hire. One thing that we do differently, I would say, outside of other yoga studios is you don't have to be certified under us to come in and teach, but you do take a mini immersion with us to kind of get our branding down. Make sure you align with the things that are important to Karma, so there's not a mismatch when you get into like the actual community. So power yoga, we offer yin yoga with oils. So it's a practice with props and kind of our slowest practice on the schedule. Down level, lights are dim, candle lit, and we go through 3 oils. So an energizing oil at the beginning, kind of to awaken people's senses and stuff, and then a grounding, and then a Shavasana oil at the end throughout the practice.
How does it work with the oils? Like, does the instructor come around with them?
Yeah, so they have the oils. We used to pre-COVID, we used to spray the oils in the room. So it'd be the energizing spray for 10-15 minutes, then the grounding, then the Shavasana, but now they go through. So they usually start with the oils in the palm of the hand at the beginning of practice and have each student rub their hands and kind of flow with the energizing, and then the grounding is whatever touching points they have in the posture. Mm-hmm. So it could be pigeon, maybe the shoulders, it could be the collarbone, some type of connection with that oil, and then Shavasana at the end.
That sounds really nice. That sounds like yin in itself is so relaxing and so grounding, but with the oils and the touch, that just sounds like the perfect reset.
Yeah, it's really nice, especially because it's kind of completely opposite from everything we offer. I do think the connection point or the foundation line is that everything's based around yoga and mindfulness. So it does transition really well, but it is our slowest class on the schedule.
It's good to have balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you are jumping around or doing the more intense workouts, you need to drop into the body and stillness every once in a while.
Okay, so you've got power yoga, vinyasa, yin, and are both of those heated?
No, yin is not heated. Power is heated.
Okay.
And then we offer hot hit flow. And that is just a hit sequence style class. Again, dancing within the framework that we offer at Karma Yoga. And like I said, we start in Shavasana, we end in Shavasana. We do a little twist at the end, kind of to close the practice. And then a take on that is hot hit flow with weights. So we add weights and bands. So slower than hot hit flow, but just as challenging because you're adding, the element of weights and bands.
Okay, so hot hit flow, is that are you flowing? Is it yoga poses?
No, it's a great question. So it's typically like squats, burpees, push-ups, but the one thing that does tie the yoga in is everything's connected. So we're never stopping. So it's like abs, plant the feet, bridge pose, lift the hips up and down, draw the knees into the chest, rock up, downward facing dog, walk it to the top of the mat, squat. So everything is a flow at Karma Yoga just because that's what I believe in meditation movement, and mindfully created. So at, for hot hit, everyone's trained here under Karma because it's kind of our signature flow and, what's it called? Creation. And so they all teach, they get to create their own sequences, but they teach in that flow.
Okay, I love it. Yeah. So what I was envisioning is sometimes it's called a yoga sculpt, where it's like a yoga class with strength, but this is HIIT, this is more strength based, but everything's flowing.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And I'm very familiar, and I have nothing against yoga and sculpt, but I really, really love yoga, and I love to divide the yoga and not have weights in my yoga class. And I mean, I enjoyed taking it, but as a studio owner, I really appreciate just having the yoga be the yoga. And then the hot hit being the strength building, but how we get the yoga in is just the flow of class. So like I said, downward dog and then child's poses in there after every standing series. We end in child's pose, we'll flip over. So a flow type.
I love it. I can't wait to try it. It sounds like my jam. Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
I think we covered a lot.
We did.
I feel like we could talk for hours about yoga. Okay,
let's do well, did you have something or did it?
No.
Because I want to jump into a tour. I can't wait to go see Studio Krista.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Yoga Society podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little more mindfulness in their day. See you next time.